Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Benanin, and today we'll be reviewing the Purito Daily Go-To Sunscreen with Broad Spectrum SPF 50+, PA of 4+. After last year's sunscreen debacle, Purito pulled the original Holy Grail sunscreen formula from the shelf, and they released this new one a few months later. If you don't know what happened, basically the original formula was claiming a higher SPF, but after some testing, it found out that the true value was much lower than the claims. The way the brand has been handling the whole situation kind of gives me mixed feelings. I feel like Purito really got the brunt of all of everybody's anger, so they really had to step it up and show us that they can be trusted. That being said, there has been some shady stuff going on as far as them not selling it in Korea, but they have been very transparent with some extra SPF testing and being transparent with everything that they're finding in their new formulation. So I will link some creators that have done a great job about explaining the whole sunscreen scandal and their views about Purito, so you can watch those and come up with your own opinion as far as the brand. But for today, we're going to be talking about the actual product. So this new formula has been tested in the United States and in Korea, so I will leave the SPF findings up here on the screen. As far as the active ingredients, it contains titanium dioxide, Uvenol A+, Uvenol T150, and Tinosorb S. Some other ingredients in here are Centella asiatica and asiatic acid, which are both antioxidants and have inflammatory and soothing properties. This is not a water-resistant sunscreen, but it is fragrance-free, and I found that it does not burn or sting my eyes, and this formula is cruelty-free. So day one, when I wore this sunscreen, I wore it with my normal skincare underneath. So for me, that includes a light moisturizer. I let that dry down, and then I applied the Purito as the final step in my skincare routine. I'll include clips of me wearing it in my bathroom lighting and in front of natural lighting so that you can see if there is a white cast. For me, the formula was a tad bit heavy and kind of greasy, and yes, I understand there's a difference between like a dewy hydrating formula versus just a greasy sunscreen, and for me this is giving more greasy than dewy. As you can see with the side-by-side, the side that I have the sunscreen on, it's definitely giving glowy, it's giving shiny, and the feel of it on my fingers, you can still feel the sunscreen, and I just feel like it just sat on top of my skin, never fully drying down. I went ahead and applied it to the other side of my face, and I feel like it took me a while to rub it in. This is definitely a sunscreen that you're going to have to really work in for a while. It's not something that you can just throw on and head out the door. As far as the white cast, I would say this is giving really no white cast. There is a minimal like blue hue to it, and I was thinking that maybe this was because of the moisturizer underneath. I think with some sunscreens, it really depends on what kind of skincare you have under. So for me, with my normal skincare underneath, I was seeing like a slight blue hue to it. It's nothing extreme, like I would still be able to leave my house with this, but it's just something that I noticed, and I feel like the blue hue showed up a little bit more the longer I wore it. So this is me wearing it after 15 minutes, and this is it after 2 hours. As you guys can see, I look mighty shiny, so I'm not a fan of that, and I was feeling very shiny. It felt very like sticky and just gross to me, but as you can see, the blue hue is showing up a little bit more here the longer that I was wearing the sunscreen. So I went ahead and I blotted and I reapplied, and honestly the reapplication of this was even worse. I felt that with the reapplication it just felt even heavier for me, so I probably wouldn't recommend this as a sunscreen that you would use for reapplication. The first application was okay, but the second one just was not my thing, and I didn't really enjoy it. So this is what it is looking like. So the next day, I decided to go ahead and try this on bare skin. I skipped the moisturizer underneath. I skipped my acne products just to see if the products underneath was what was affecting the finish of it. So as you can see on bare skin, it actually looks pretty good. Like it's giving the hydration without the oily and greasiness, which I really liked. And then as you'll be able to see in natural lighting, it looks glowy, it looks nice, and just the finish of it looks better. I feel like if you are someone with oily skin, I would definitely recommend skipping the moisturizer, probably really minimizing your products underneath, letting them fully dry, and then applying the Purito on top of it, and you'll get a pretty good finish. When I came back after 2 hours, as you guys can see, I don't look as greasy as I did the day before, but I'm still showing a little bit of oiliness, and it feels a little bit like tacky. So I went ahead and blotted and I reapplied the sunscreen over it. And for me, again, the reapplication process just didn't feel that nice. I just feel like the more layers you add on top of this sunscreen, the greasier it gets. So I wouldn't recommend using this as a application, even if you're skipping your moisturizer underneath. The last day I tried this out with makeup. So this is my basic everyday makeup that you guys see in basically every single video, but it works for me. Underneath here, I have just washed my face, let it dry, and put the Purito on top of it. I don't have any extra products, and then I put my makeup on top of that. I found that it wore pretty well underneath makeup. It's giving me that nice glow. It's a pretty good finish. It is a little bit on the heavier side as far as sunscreens for makeup, but it wore well. So after 2 hours, this is what it's looking like. I don't know why the lighting is different, but basically the gist of it is I look shiny and I was feeling pretty gross at this point. I just think it's too much. So if you're someone with oily skin, this is definitely one that you'll have to be blotting throughout the day, maybe adding some more powder throughout the day. So not really ideal to wear under makeup. I don't usually reapply sunscreen over makeup, but I'm doing it for the sake of this video, and this is one that I would definitely not recommend to reapply over makeup. It's just a little bit too heavy, and I found that the more I blotted, the more it was like picking up my foundation with it and like moving around the makeup more. So not something that I would recommend to apply over makeup. I would probably go in with a powder or a lighter sunscreen instead. So my overall thoughts, I think this sunscreen was definitely designed for people with dry skin. I probably would not recommend it for people with oily skin, but if you do decide to buy it and you have oily skin, I would skip any product underneath and just wear the sunscreen solo. As far as people with sensitive skin, I didn't experience any reactions from this. As far as people with acne prone skin, I did not experience any breakouts from this. And then for people that wear makeup, this is probably not the best option to put underneath makeup, but it can work. And then lastly, as far as reapplication, not my favorite for reapplying. I just found that it was a tad bit too heavy for reapplication. If you have tried this and you liked it, let me know. If you tried it and you hated it, also let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And that'll be all for today's video. See you guys in the next one. Bye!